So, as you guys know, I do quite a few videos every single year focused on home studio setups, whether it's my own home studio setup, a setup for a beginner, or for someone on a specific budget. At the end of the day, these videos are focused on trying to find the best studio gear for your setup, and for those of you starting out, how to put it all together and have your own home studio setup. And in today's video, we're going to be focusing on that exact principle. We're going to look at the newest current gear that you can get in 2021 that's actually worth having a look at, and put together a home studio setup for under $500, not just for the music producer, but also for the vocalist. So hey guys, welcome back to another video, and if you're new here, my name is Edward Smith and welcome to my YouTube channel. Before we jump into things, I'd first like to ask you to please smash that subscribe button down below if you haven't already. Click on that bell notification so you don't miss any of my future uploads. Secondly, the links of all the products that we're going to be going through in today's video will be down in the description below. And then last but not least, make sure you stick around all the way till the end of this video, because after we go through the setup for a producer and for a vocalist, I'm actually going to go into a step-by-step guide of how to connect everything and do the entire setup as if you were sitting by yourself with all this gear trying to put it all together. So without any further ado, let's get into this video and have a look at our home studio setup for under $500, starting with the setup for the producer. So the first item that we're gonna have a look at that's essential for your home studio setup under $500 is a decent pair of studio monitors. And because we're on a specific budget, I have decided to go with the Alesis Elevate 5 MK2s, firstly because they only cost around $130, and secondly they have a 5-inch cone. Having a 5-inch cone in music production is essential because you can't really hear the low end when you have a 3-inch cone or a 4-inch cone, so getting the most that you can for the budget, the Alesis Elevate 5 MK2s are the best option. They also come with a bass boost feature, which allows you to even get a little bit more low end if that's what you want to hear in the moment. So for someone that's producing music and you want to have a better spectrum of what your sound is sounding like, these are the options to go for. The next item that we're going to have a look at that's essential for your home studio setup under $500 is a decent audio interface. And for those of you that don't know, an audio interface is the middleman between your laptop or PC and the instruments and microphone you want to connect. So it's really important to have a decent audio interface so everything runs smoothly, there's not a lot of lag and latency, because without it your laptop or PC is really going to struggle to do what it needs to do. And if you have a microphone, you want to record vocals or sounds or anything as a producer, you are going to need this audio interface. And in this video I've gone with the Focusrite Scarlett Solo, firstly because it is one of the best sounding audio interfaces on a budget. It's also one of the most popular, and I've been using mine for about a year now, and it's definitely worth the money and it will last you a very long time. So before we move on to the next piece of studio gear, I'd first like to make a disclaimer that in today's video we will not be including the laptop or PC or music production software you're going to need for your home studio setup. The reason being that if you want to get a decent laptop and have all this gear, it's pretty much impossible to have it under $500. And secondly, when it comes to music production software, it's kind of a preference thing, so it wouldn't be something that I would say this is the best to go for, because they all kind of do the same thing and it all depends on you. But if you are someone that wants to have that information as well, I have left links down below on videos that should answer all the questions you might have. So moving on to the next piece of gear that you're going to need for your producer studio setup under $500, and that piece of gear is a decent MIDI keyboard. And the MIDI keyboard that I've gone for is the Nectar SE49. The reason I've gone for 49 key MIDI keyboard is because I'm not someone that's really interested in drum pads or anything like that, and if I was, it would be a piece of gear I would want to get separately. I'm not a big fan of all these MIDI keyboards with everything in one, because there's not enough detail and attention spent on every single thing, so some things are lacking and overall the quality is just not amazing. So if you're a music producer, get yourself a decent 49 key MIDI keyboard that's kind of budget, because you're just going to be figuring out keys and notes and things like that, and you can even make your beats and drums with the keys. So a 49 key MIDI keyboard is perfect for what you need, and this MIDI keyboard only costs $80. Moving on to the next piece of studio gear that I think is essential in any home studio setup, whether you're a producer or a vocalist, and that is getting a decent condenser microphone. This is the AKG P120. It will cost you around $80. And the reason I think it's so important to get a studio condenser microphone, especially if you're a producer, is the fact that in the future you might be recording a vocalist. You might even want to record your own vocals in the future. Maybe not right now, but in a week's time, in a month's time, you might be in that situation where you want to record a vocal or even a sound or a guitar or something, and you're going to want to use a microphone. And getting a decent studio condenser microphone like the AKG P120 is going to do the job for you for so many years that you won't even have to worry about having a microphone again. So if you are a producer, this is honestly a must-have. And then the last piece of studio gear that you're going to need to complete your home studio setup under $500 is a decent set of headphones. And as a producer, having a decent set of headphones is so important, especially if you're on the go, if you can't make a lot of noise with your studio monitors, if you want to actually hear everything, especially if your studio monitors are quite small, then having a decent set of headphones is really, really important. And for this video, I've gone with the Sennheiser HD280 Pros, which will cost you around $99. The reason I picked these headphones is firstly because they sound really, really good. Secondly, they are quite comfortable, and if you're someone looking for a little bit more low end when it comes to producing music, these headphones will give you that. But if you're not a fan of the Sennheiser HD280 Pros, another fantastic option is the Audio-Technica ATH M40Xs, which sound just as amazing. And if you want to pick between them and the Sennheiser HD280 Pros, you can't really go wrong with either. So that concludes my perfect home studio setup for a producer under $500, with the Alesis Elevate 5 MK2s costing around $130, with the Sennheiser HD280 Pros costing around $100, the AKG P120 costing around $80, the Focusrite Scarlett Solo costing around $110, and the Nectar SE49 costing around $79, which brings our entire total exactly at $500. Moving on to our perfect studio setup under $500 for a vocalist, the first piece of studio gear that we're going to have a look at are our studio monitors. And the studio monitors that I've gone for this vocalist setup are the PreSonus Iris E3.5s. And the reason I've picked them is firstly because they're $30 cheaper than the Alesis Elevate 5 MK2s, which gives us a little bit more room for a nicer microphone, which is important for a vocalist. And secondly, because they sound really, really good. These are my favorite studio monitors for under $100. They're super clean, they're super fresh in terms of sound, they look really good, and if you are a vocalist not worrying too much about music production and that side of things, having these studio monitors should get the job done. Moving on to the next piece of studio gear for our vocalist setup, and that is the audio interface. For the vocalist setup, I've gone with the Audience Evo 4. The reason I've picked this audio interface is firstly because it has better sounding preamps in my opinion than the Focusrite Scarlett Solo, and yes, it is $140. It does cost a little bit more, so you do have to keep that into consideration if you have a budget under $500. But if you are a vocalist, you are looking to get the best sounding preamps that you can get because you want your better overall recordings to sound better. So in my opinion, the Evo 4 is the option to go for, especially if you are a vocalist. Moving on to the next piece of studio gear, that's probably the most important piece of gear in any vocalist studio setup, and that is your condenser microphone. And the microphone that I've gone for is the Audio-Technica AT2020. This is the most popular studio condenser microphone under $100. I would have gone for the Rode NT1A to be honest, because it sounds slightly better, but it is double the price. So if you are looking for a better condenser microphone, I'd probably go for the Rode NT1A and then leave the studio monitors out of the budget. But if you want both, then you have to go with the Audio-Technica AT2020. It sounds really good, the frequency response is really good, and overall it's just a great microphone, especially for someone on a budget. As I mentioned earlier in our producer setup, how important it is to get a decent sounding microphone. When it comes to a vocalist, you're also going to need some producer type gear that will really help you enjoy the process of doing what you do a lot more. And that is getting a MIDI keyboard. And I've gone with the same Nectar SE49 fine. And like I said, as a vocalist, you might think I don't need a MIDI keyboard, but to be honest, if you are sitting in front of your MIDI keyboard, messing around with the piano or something like that, it could really be the spark of a lot of inspiration for songwriting and anything like that. So in my opinion, I would definitely get a decent sounding MIDI keyboard in my Vocalist setup, because you think you might not need it, but I promise you it's going to change everything. And the last item that we're going to have a look at that's essential for your vocal studio setup is a decent set of headphones. And the headphones that I've gone for is the Audio-Technica ATH M30Xs. I actually gave away a pair of these in my last giveaway, so if you want to go check out that giveaway and maybe win some more products, just a reminder that I'll leave a link down below. But getting back to these headphones, the reason I went for them is firstly because they're quite a bit cheaper than the Sennheiser HD280 Pros, costing around $70, so you're saving around $30 there for another piece of gear to keep you under $500. And secondly, they come with a really long cable, which is very important for a vocalist looking to get away from your setup when recording vocals, and then being able just to move around a lot more and have a lot more mobility. So having a nice long cable is essential for a vocalist, not just when at the desk, but also when recording vocals. And these headphones also sound very good, nice and flat, nice and clean, and I would recommend these to even a producer if you are on a tighter budget and maybe under $400. So that concludes our vocal studio setup, with the PreSonus Eris E3.5s costing around $100, the Nectar AC49 MIDI keyboard costing around $80, the Audience Evo 4 audio interface costing around $140, the AT2020 from Audio-Technica costing around $100, and the Audio-Technica ATH M30Xs costing around $70, bringing our total to around $480, which gives you even enough money to go and get some cables and things like that. So now that we've gone through the producer setup and the vocalist setup for under $500, it's time to move on to actually setting up all the gear step by step, so that you can see where to plug in everything, what cables you're going to need, and how to put it all together so that you can have your perfect studio setup. So to start off the setup and connecting process, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, an audio interface is the centerpiece between your laptop or PC and the gear that you want to connect to it, which includes a set of studio monitors, a microphone, your headphones, an instrument. All of these things have to connect to your audio interface. So to start off with that, we're first going to connect our studio monitors to our audio interface via balanced TRS cables. These TRS cables are balanced because they have two rings at the top, and if you don't have balanced cables, it's not going to really work as well. So make sure you get balanced TRS cables, and all you have to do is plug them in at the back of the studio monitor, and then run them all the way from the studio monitors into the back section of the audio interface where it says left and right for your studio monitors. Moving on to the next piece of studio gear that we're going to connect to our audio interface, and that is our condenser microphone. And when connecting a condenser microphone to your audio interface, it's pretty simple. All you have to do is get a male to female XLR cable, plug in the microphone on the male section, and then just get the female section and plug it into the input side of the audio interface. Just a reminder that when you do this, make sure that you have your microphone set up already in the bracket on your stand, so that you don't have to constantly plug it in and out. And then secondly, also a reminder that you need to make sure that all the volumes of everything is as low as it can be, and if your studio gear can actually switch off, have everything switched off while you set up and connect everything, so that you don't have any damage happening to your gear while you're plugging in and out, because it's not good to have volume high and stuff like that when you're pulling out cables. It just damages your gear. So make sure everything is switched off, and then as soon as everything is set up and connected, then slowly but surely switch everything on and get everything started. And then the last piece of gear that we're going to connect to our audio interface is our set of headphones, which is the easiest piece of gear to connect to an audio interface, where all you have to do is just take the cable of the headphones, plug it right into the headphone section of the interface, and you're ready to go. So now that we have most of our gear connected to the audio interface, it's time to connect the interface to our laptop. And when you purchase an interface, you'll get your connection cable, which in this case is a USB-C to USB-A, and pretty simple to do. You connect the USB-C part of this audio interface and run it through with this cable into your laptop with a USB-A connection. just a reminder that when you get an audio interface and you do the whole setup, you might have to download the driver of the specific interface from the manufacturer website. And if you want more information on that and you might be someone struggling with that, I have left a video down in the description below just to show you exactly how to set up an audio interface step by step so you don't miss a thing. And then the last piece of gear we still have to connect to our setup is our MIDI keyboard. And when you purchase a MIDI keyboard, you'll get your connection cable with it, which in this case is a printer type cable going to a USB-A. And to connect it, all you have to do is plug in the printer side into your MIDI keyboard, plug this into your laptop, and everything should be ready to go. So that brings this video to an end of the perfect home studio setup under $500, not just for a producer, but also for the vocalist. And just a reminder, if you're interested in any of these products, I have left links down in the description below. Secondly, if you have any questions about today's video, just leave a comment down below and I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. But other than that, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please do give it a thumbs up, and if you loved it, subscribe down below, and I will see you for another video next time.